Well, it's your 14th year of record growth consecutively.
Yes.
This is a good record, Stephen.
Yes, it has been a good record, and every time you look back at it, but there's still a lot of growth to come, which is the exciting part, because although we've got big stakes in some markets, there's lots of markets growing. So we've got strong business in South Africa, strong business in Australia, cash generative, and really good performances out of Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Asia. So, and those are key growth areas for us into the future.
We have to deal with South Africa. Obviously, everything has been righted in the second 6-month period, but you had a tough first 6 months, and you have referred to them as once-off events. So perhaps just for the final time, I'm sure your last interview of the day, take us through the remedial action, the once-off items that won't reoccur, and of course, you've seen the performance improving in the second 6-month period.
Well, I mean, you can never be sure what will and won't occur. For example, we had a strike last July, which is the starting month of our year. We had two of the biggest products, Truvada and Serotype, both went post-patent at the same time.
So they were threatened by generics for the first time.
And they are so correct. And they had over 300 million rand of turnover between them, and there was a huge downside there. And of course, we had the ARVs, which was quite publicized. We had the donor stocks. The government didn't buy off the tender. They bought donor. We had all our factories up and ready to make for them. And finally, we lost the Pfizer infant milk formula business, and that was all in one period. So it was quite a knock for any business, and I think there's not many businesses that would be standing.
Foxair came in and rectified the situation with Serotype.
Exactly right. It's now the single biggest generic brand in South Africa. It does more volume than Serotype ever did, and it's a sustainable brand. So sometimes you've got to turn these negatives into positives.
The donors have run out of money.
The donors had donor fatigue, and we're starting to see some big off-takes in the ARVs, and coupled with that, on at least 5 occasions, we've had to now bail out other suppliers who haven't been able to supply the necessary quantities to government, which is great for us because the tender's coming up
12th
now.
of December.
Correct.
Are you expecting to get a fair share of that?
I am, because I think, one, we price competitive, but two, there's more than just price in this, because the government now have had a demonstration of what it's like to have other suppliers being let down, and the Minister of Health publicly said, thank goodness we had Aspen to rely on.
Now, being a mother of a 1-year-old baby, I've been turning to your Infracare baby powder. So that is also starting to dominate in the consumer division, isn't it?
It's doing fantastically. It's, I think within a couple of years we'll be back to the same turnovers we had even when we had the additional Pfizer products in. So a very good performance from our infant milk formula business. So look, I think we're in a really good space. I think what excites me most about our business is the underlying growth rate in our pharmaceutical business. Strong pipeline, strong volume growths, no prices, a couple of percent. And so that, together with the performance of our factories, we had a 10% productivity increase, helped mitigate, inflation, wages, electricity prices. So a very strong performance in very tricky circumstances in our South African business.
But everything back on an even keel. Let's turn now to Asia Pacific, and that you see growing from a revenue perspective, or contributing more revenue to the group than any other division. Is that correct next year?
I think that would. I mean, obviously there's exchange rate factors, but I think that's probably a pretty good call.
Sigma's fully integrated now.
Sigma has been completely bedded down. We said we're going to double the profit. We will, and more. The base business have grown fantastically. Our original Aspen base business has 40% growth. Sigma, like for like, has grown over 20. So very strong base growth, good extraction of synergies, even big margin improvements. And I say even because there were PBS reforms, we had price cuts. So what we brought to the party in terms of synergies had more than offset any price cuts in that market.
And your Southeast Asia foray, I see Aspen Philippines up and running with 100 employees in the fold.
Yes, and Aspen Malaysia and Aspen Taiwan right behind. And there's another 3 territories also in Southeast Asia. So big focus in Asia, big focus in LATAM. Good growth in Sub-Saharan Africa, good organic growth. So big focuses in those areas.
LATAM, still in terms of the verbiage that I've gone through, that remains for you the most exciting territory. Would that be a fair comment?
It is a very exciting territory between that and Southeast Asia, but LATAM is a very exciting territory. You'll see it's under rest of world for now, but you'll see all the turnovers are down, the profits up significantly, big switches out of public sector tenders into retail, and once we start breaking into retail, it's given us a lot of confidence. Our pipeline's coming through now. We put it in 2 years ago. We said we're putting a pipeline in. It's a bit like a hose pipe. It takes a little while to start, but once it starts, if you keep feeding it, you should keep getting fruition. So it's very exciting for us, Latin American.
When you see such rapid growth in a business, the analysts may say to you, well, hang on a minute, is the group becoming a little unwieldy, and are you going to lose control? Do you ever face that as a potential threat?
Well, we started the business from zero. So from 0 to 15 or 16 billion, it's
we can go from zero to hero. I think we can use that terminology here.
So we've had to, as we've gone along the way, we've had, I think, probably more challenges, from getting from 100 million to 1 billion than from where we are now. But we've got a very decentralized management structure, and a lot of people sitting in a head office, and phenomenal people around the globe who, and from the center, there's operational excellence, particularly in our facilities, which really contribute overall to the group. So I think we've got the infrastructure in place, and certainly got an infrastructure that we can grow off, rather than worry about, are we too stretched?
Stephen, thanks so much for your time. Stephen Saad, the CEO of Aspen Pharmacare.